All right, today we're going to break down a really fascinating way of thinking from Maheshwari that basically challenges everything you've been told about where to put your money. We're going to take a deep dive into what long-term value even means in a world that feels more uncertain by the day. And it really makes you wonder, are we playing a game that we're actually designed to lose?
And this right here is the big problem, isn't it? This is the dilemma that so many of us are facing. All the old rules of investing seem to be breaking. You put your money in a so-called safe place, and you're actually losing buying power every single year. But then, if you go chase those big, juicy returns, it honestly feels more like you're at a casino just rolling the dice. So, what do you do?
So, the way this argument is built is actually pretty simple, but it's really powerful. Instead of trying to find the perfect investment right away, we're going to use a process of elimination. We're going to look at all the usual suspects, all the common advice, and just systematically knock them down one by one until we see what's left standing.
Okay, let's start with what everyone calls the safe bet, a fixed deposit. You look at that 6% interest rate and think, hey, that's not too bad. But wait, after taxes, that drops to maybe 4.5%. Now here is the absolute key to this whole framework. The argument is that the real inflation, what you actually feel when you go to buy groceries or pay your bills, is way closer to 10%. So what's the bottom line? You are losing over 5% of your money's value every single year. You're basically getting poorer safely.
Okay, so if we follow that logic, fixed deposits are out. They're off the list. What's next? Real estate. Well, from this perspective, the property market is just a massive, overinflated bubble, with prices totally disconnected from what normal people can actually afford. And what about short-term stock trading? Nope. That's just tossed out as pure speculation. It's gambling, not investing.
And here is where things get really, really interesting. You know that old saying, stocks are the best for long-term growth? Well, this data just throws a massive wrench in that whole idea. Look at this. Over the last 25 years, sure, the Sensex grew 16 times over, which is great. But gold and silver? They both grew by a whopping 40 times. 40! This single data point is the foundation for everything that comes next.
Okay, so if that's true, why isn't this front page news? Why isn't everyone piling into gold and silver? Well, to get that, we have to zoom out. We need to stop looking at individual stocks or assets and start looking at the foundation everything is built on, the money system itself. And the thinking here is, if you actually look at the long arc of history, the fate of paper currencies is surprisingly predictable.
To get a handle on that predictability, the analysis uses this theory called the fourth turning. Now, don't worry, it's pretty simple. Basically, the idea is that history moves in these long, predictable cycles, about 80 to 100 years long. And the final part of that cycle, the fourth turning, is always a time of huge crisis, where the old system completely falls apart before something new can be built. And the argument is, we're in one right now.
So what are the warning signs? What's the evidence that we're in one of these turnings? Well, first, there's simple historical fact. Every single government-issued paper currency in history, one that isn't backed by something real, has eventually gone to zero. Every single one. And right now, we're seeing central banks all over the world dumping U.S. government debt. And what are they buying with that money? Physical gold. It all points to one thing: a massive loss of faith in the U.S. dollar system that's run the world for decades.
And all of this, all these signs, they point to one place. They point to the one asset that people have run to for thousands of years when they lose faith in everything else. When the paper promises start to feel empty, people turn to something they can hold in their hand. They turn to gold.
There's this really powerful way to think about it that just cuts right to the chase. When all the doctors have tried everything and have no answers left, you turn to a higher power. Well, in the world of finance, when stocks, bonds, and currencies all seem to be failing, you go to gold. It's the last resort. And we are not talking about some small niche market here. This is huge. The total value of all the tradable gold in the world is estimated to be around $17.5 trillion. It's a colossal amount of money. Okay, now, lock that number in your head because what comes next is, well, it's pretty wild. Okay, so we've talked about gold, but now we get to the final piece of the puzzle. And according to this line of thinking, this is the real story. This is the asset that is facing a unique and, frankly, critical mismatch between supply and demand. We're talking about silver.
Just look at that number. Seriously, remember gold? $17.5 trillion? The entire market for available investable silver is just $80 billion. That is not a typo. It's so small in comparison, it's almost hard to believe. And that tiny, tiny market size is the whole point.
So what makes silver so special?
It's because it's living a double life. It has two powerful stories happening at the exact same time. On one hand, yes, it's a precious metal. It's been money for thousands of years. It's a safe haven just like gold. But on the other hand, it is an absolutely vital industrial metal. It's the best electrical conductor on the planet, which makes it irreplaceable for all our future tech. And, this part's important, it gets used up, it gets consumed in that process.
And this industrial demand has led to a really big deal, a new official label. Governments, like the US, are now officially calling silver a critical mineral. And this isn't just some fancy term. It means that a shortage of silver is now seen as a direct threat to national security, to the economy, and to the military.
So why the big deal? Why is it suddenly so critical? Because our entire future is literally being built with it. We're talking solar panels, electric cars, the data centers that run AI, all of our electronics and semiconductors, even our most advanced defense technology, like missiles. None of it works without silver. It's not a luxury anymore. It's an absolute necessity.
So here's the setup, the potential perfect storm. You've got three giant sources of demand. You've got governments who now see it as a strategic necessity they have to stockpile. You have industries that literally cannot build the future without it. And you still have investors who are looking for a safe place to put their money. And they are all of them, fighting over that tiny $80 billion pool of available silver. The potential mismatch is the entire story.
And so, this whole line of thinking leaves us with one pretty powerful question to ask ourselves. In a world of digital bank accounts and promises from governments, it forces you to stop and think about what actually has lasting value. It's a challenge to really consider. Are you holding on to an idea of money, or are you holding the real thing? Definitely something worth thinking about.